Okay. Just setting up the stream, making sure everything is okay. Okay, just a sec to drop this. Seems not to be working. Anyway, the goal of the stream is to set up. So I'm going to let me pop out this chat and come back here and like this as well, and then have these two sort of stay in the same. Yeah, I think this is cool. Nice. Okay, so yeah. Worries. Yeah, so let's start by just telling guys that we're here ready to get like my string URLs. Okay. Story. Okay. I don't know. Going live now. So it's funny, the like guys have just seen that if you put a link as a reply to the main tweet, it's for some weird reason gets more engagement as opposed to like just directly putting a link on the first message. It's weird. I'm just going to try it and then see. So this is twitch.tv. I think it is with an underscore, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it is with an underscore. So let's just say Twitch, then YouTube. Is it like, let me get the streaming, like just directly. Yeah, sure. Yep, okay. Let's jump into work. So just to break it down, I'm building with Mastra and Typescript, as well as these guys. Okay, why is that not working? Okay. So now, just to get here, there's a problem I have, and that is the way we build this plugin. I'm getting some very weird errors. So sorry for that. So XTP plugin build. So XTP is like a product from the guys who make XTZM.js and now MCP.run. So if we come and check out here, this is like the website. So this is where you set up the MCP. But the MCPs are like compiled to like WASM. So you can write it in TypeScript, Go, Python, C++, whatever. The challenge I have right now is, as you can see in the example and the comment here, the node specific issues tools, like especially the networking tools, are not available in like the WASM. So they have this HTTP global helper that we use to make our requests. And in my case, I need to call the Google Drive API just to handle the different things I want to do with like the MCP, because I want it to interact with the Google Drive API. So like talk to Google Drive, search files, get file contents, stuff like that. And initially I set up like the auth and different things that come available with the official Google library thing that they have. I think it's in my package.json. Yeah, so the Google author library and the Google APIs, right? But they rely on like node specific networking tools to work. So I have to sort of build it with HTTP. But before I get there, I haven't started like implementing that. I was just setting up the Drive client, and I just started getting an error when I build things out. So this is like how we build. It starts with like bash prepare script and stuff, and it was compiling right before, so I was like doing it very incrementally. So I want to know what the issue is here and like how I can fix it, right? So for now, because let me comment this one out, not use the Google Drive, not this, and then just return a success effect, right, instead of this. Okay. So this is that. It's not. Oh yeah. Okay, this doesn't need to be there. And then I'm just going to GC and comment these ones. So let's do this again. Okay. It's because there were still comments. So with this done, I don't need this. And this is not here anymore. So let's see if this builds. Yeah, I still get the same issue. Couldn't create WASM from input. Okay, so what could be the problem, honestly? Yeah, so some of the things I have going on is using effect just to build like these flows, and it does a really good job with that. Let me just remove all unused code. Google Drive, search files, and this is what it does. A ton of schemas. At this point, I really don't know what the problem is, but just trying to debug, because now the error message wasn't giving me so much. So before I either reach out to the XTism team, I want to see how that works. Now, there are different ways to create like schemas with effects, and there's this schema.class method. So I want to change this to just like regular struct. So this, let's see if this is what is causing the problem. And then this is schema. To change that to a struct. Leave that there. And get rid of that. So this is a regular schema. And this is the next one. So let's do that again. Okay, this one is good as well. I think those are the only two things I'm exporting, but I also need to export like the type. Type of list files params.type. Same for this. Okay, so let's make sure we don't have any issues. So this is used just as a type, so I'm just going to do that. Match when schema is okay. This one is fine. Let me try and see if me making them like a struct, jumping in. Yeah, sure. Thanks. Welcome to the chat, Warrior Rapid. Yeah, so already using effect. I've been using it for a personal project. It just like bugged my mind a lot, and I thought it was like one of the hardest things. Then I picked up this project for work, and all I just want to use is effect. It's like it's really crazy. It just got into me. It's really nice. I'll show you like how I'm doing the flows and everything, and I really love that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'll share the Vim configs. I don't think I'm just going to push them to GitHub. I don't know if I have the latest one, and then I share the let's do that. So I just need to go to config Vim. Yeah, so I have some changes. Color scheme format. So yeah, let me just add that updates and push. So the link is github.com. Yeah, you can check it out. So I use lazy vim. So this, if you just clone that, I guess you'll just be using lazy vim with like now my configs. Oh yeah, yeah. So same thing. I've actually watched, let me say, I've actually watched Elon like for 4 weeks now, like just consecutively, all his streams. And I was lucky enough to pick a project that he was just starting and he was using Effect. So I just saw how he thought through it. But to say like what is Effect, that's true. Like what exactly is it's a lot of things. And I think that's what I realized, I could just pick the parts that I think are are useful to me and leave the rest. Because there's a lot going on React. They have services, layers, I don't know, repositories, schema. So you could literally use effect schema as a replacement to, like, let's say your Zod, if you want to go the effect way, right? Because its schema is like really flexible. And you could have that in just a regular TypeScript project and you won't have to worry about anything. So you could just use it as your schema stuff. And you could also be like, oh, okay, I like, for instance, something I really like. Let me show you. So I have this pipeline thing where this is a function, it gets an input, and then there's this match. So this is pattern matching, and I'm matching based on the value. And then this is like sort of me breaking it apart, but like it pipes the input, the value you get matches based on the value. Then this one handles the greeting, which you just now have a match.when. As you can see, they also have like a flow of some sort, match.when, and then you match just based on the shape of the object. And then this is now the part where you use it. Yeah, I'll try like a small example later. Yeah, but then you match everything. This or else absurd just says that's an error, and then you just like what. And I like you could just pipe stuff, for instance, which I think is really cool, and just simplifies so much logic. And you can catch all your errors as you go, log if you want to log. It's really cool, and I think that's nice. And then I'm also matching just based on a schema that I've written. I'm matching so that is this object, does this satisfy this schema? And then I do something. And then in this case, I want to search files, but like I have a bug right now and things just stopped building and I want to know what the issue is. So I was fixing up the schema to see. Oh yeah. Oh my god. So this is the other thing. So Effect has two ways of writing schemas, right? So this is the first and the most like straightforward example, for instance. So I have this schema. These are params that I'm going to receive for this search files function, right? And it's a struct that has like the params and the struct, which has a literal search files for the name, and then an arguments, which is all these params, which are right here, right? All these params together with, I extend it with like an access token because our app sort of, this is how I'm thinking. You need to also pass the access token. So this is like the simpler way. I mean, this straightforward way, but I could also have export const, I could just call this random schema. And instead of a const, this could literally be a class, okay? And then it extends schema.class, and you have to write the random schema thing again over here. Open this, give it an identifier, random schema, and then call it again, put your schema inside there, and hold this. Like, yeah, so this direct struct and this create a schema. But the thing is, this could literally, because it's a class, you could even add other methods in here, right? A get something or a set something. Like it becomes way more flexible, and your schema is also like an object that you can create and just deal with. So it just becomes like, if you work with models and stuff, it just becomes like your model. immediately. So I liked its flexibility, but it seems that it's causing some errors when I try to build it to WASM for some reason. So you say pattern matching and option types are the two things I wish TypeScript supported out of the box. Yeah. Effect has pattern matching. It has options. It has. So let's just jump into the docs, and I show you a couple of things. So we have like data types, state. So again, these docs are huge, and once I've started using them, I realize it doesn't even cover everything. So I just come to this also crazy like auto-generated docs based on the document of the code itself, and you just get other things. But yeah, that's crazy. So data types. So here we have an option type, right? You see, so you could literally have value, option some, and then you could have like option none, and that's options. But then we also have these things called ethers. Yeah, understanding ether and exit. So you have a right and a left. It's also really nice. It's like an interesting way on top. Like if you like options, you might like ethers. And yeah, there's just a lot of things, right? There's even redacted types, which is like one of my cool ones. So if you have like an API key, you just like redact, and if you console log this parameter, it will just always say redacted. So you can just go logging everywhere, and it'll show you won't log your secrets. Like there are some really interesting things, and I like it. Yeah. Anyway, so now that I have that now that I know it builds and that the issue was how I was writing the schemas, that's interesting. So I can go back to this place and just try and see if I'm gonna make these things work. So effect config, yeah, so I am the reason I'm just changing the way I'm naming it is this MCP I'm building has a global called config, which is now used to just get like the configs someone sets. So I want to like distinguish between effect config and this. So this one I can just input right just as a type. Cool. And what I wanted to do, I'm still getting the hang of like how to write effectful code. Still trying to figure that out. So sometimes I just make a ton of mistakes here and there. So I want to list, and I want to pass params arguments there. Cool. So I'm not doing any network stuff like HTTP requests, because the goal here is to deal with the Google Drive API and list files and do all that, and then use this MCP in like now Mastra agent, an AI agent that I'm building, and have that like now interact with your Google Drive. Yeah. Hey Rayblock, can I ask why the light theme? The light theme is great because right now, so I moved and my desk is facing like a window, and there's so much light coming in. And the thing with light mode and so much light coming in, my eye just has to adjust a lot if I'm looking out and back. Light mode just makes it really cool. Yeah. Light mode just makes it easier for my eyes to work. And yeah, I just, for some weird reason, I just have an easier time working with light mode. So yeah, and this is a rose pine, the rose pine dawn. So the rose pine also has some really cool dark themes. So it's like one of my favorite themes. Not even one of, it is my favorite themes. So let me, what's going on? Okay, yeah, I know. So this is also an effect bug. And so I have these two things, like I'm calling them, I mean, not calling them, they are called services, right? And the thing with effect is, as you can see, I have this drive client inside here, which I have defined, right? So I've defined it here. When I come here, I'm sort of yielding this client and I can start using it. As you can see, I'm using it here. But in real sense, this is just like placeholder, me just describing the shape of what this service or this class does, right? And when I come back here, I need to provide like sort of a live version of that client. It's one of the hardest things that I've had to wrap around with how I work with effect. But it makes so much sense. So just imagine you have an app and you have like a database service or a layer, right? So think of things as a layer. So you have like your database service, you have this other service, you have this other service, and some services depend on other services. And the most important thing about effect is that it wants to tell you, if you use this function, you need to know, one, what it's going to return, if it's going to error and what errors it's going to return, and what it depends on. So if you look at this pipeline function that I've written, you can see that it's an effect, right? It's an effect. And this is the first part, is this what it can return, right? A content type, blah, blah, blah. It says it can't error out, but that's wrong. I need to fix that out. And then it says that it depends on the Google Drive service. So if I don't provide this service, I can't even build the project, because it's just like, you haven't provided, a live functioning layer of this service. So we need to make that part. So that right there was that error. It was just telling me, you haven't provided all the services you need. Cool, that's working. So XTP plugin call, I think I made this, yeah. So I'm just testing out a call. Okay, there's an error. What's going on? Params name drives. Oh yeah, that's a problem. I changed this. It shouldn't be. So this is me just testing what I just built, and it's calling the WASM thingy. Cool, and yeah, and it replies with, "Did it work?" And it does work. Hey, welcome, Peter. Cool beans. I like them warm, not too hot, but yeah. Reblog vMotions, yeah, I can survive without Vim. Okay, so I just need to come. Like, the thing is, I'm using two technologies that are so new to me, and I am prototyping as I build, and I don't want to just put everything there at the same time. So I want to make sure, does this thing work or does it not work? So every time I have like a milestone, I'm committing, because I know I might just want to go back. Yeah, so what did I do here? The client, right? Integrate like bare bones drive client. Okay. So now let's focus on the client. So in here, so if you didn't catch it, the problem is this project, it's an MCP tool that's going to interact with your Google Drive, right? And I'm building this MCP because I also want to use it in an agent that I'm going to build using Mastra, the TypeScript AI framework, that's now going to chat and talk to your Google Drive. So like you just come in, log in, and then you can just like pick any of your Google Docs, any of your Google Sheets, and just ask questions, right? So so the goal is I'm making the MCP first, then jump into working with the agent. But I'm doing them concurrently. Let me show you actually where I am right now. So you see, I've built this MCP thing, and I'm using mcp.run, and that's where like I'm gonna host it. I want to check out Composio, which is like the other MCP thingy going on, and just figure out what's going on. So Peter, yeah, you've not understood MCPs. Same. I'm literally understanding it as I build it. Because I'm like, oh, what's MCP? I'm like, okay, it's a protocol. So they compare it with just like how you have LSPs. And I think that's like a wrong way to look at it, but like that's how they compare it. But it's just in its essence, this model context protocol is the way people build tools for like your LLMs. MCP is just a standardized way to do that. Literally, it's just building a tool. But now that I build this tool, I could share it with the world and anyone could just plug it in. But you know, like everyone had their own ways of implementing tools. So MCP is just standardizing that. It's literally a way to standardize tool calls or data access for models, for LLMs and stuff. So I have pushed my latest updates, and then I have this. So Mastra dev. Cool. Nice. Let's open it up. So yeah, so here I am in Mastra. I'm using Google Flash, and if I come to my tools, I have the Google Drive Assistant tools. It's already integrated with the MCP thing. We'll jump back to it and like see later. But you can see I have my Google Drive search files. This is what I just built. And a greet. This is just like the Hello World example that comes with it. And I can just do like random token. So this is Mastra's playground. Like you can build your agent, build your tools, build your workflows, and just like playground it before you even build a UI for anything. And I can just like say hello. And this now is calling like the hosted version of my MCP tool. And you can see, did it work? Yeah, and this is what we just implemented on like locally. So now what I need to work on is actually making requests to Google Drive, which just means I have to like write this client in like a first principles way, where I have the endpoints and the query parameters and all those things. Sucks just because it's running on WASM, and I don't have access to a lot of networking tools like the Axios and everything. So I have to like just work on that. Hey, welcome Teen for Chris. I think I was used to back in the day where you describe a list of tools and then you define tools. Then the tools run like a function to do XYZ. So like a tool that fetches weather info and returns now. That is a basic function that does a fetch request. Yeah, so when you're writing your tools, and we could still write your tools, right? The thing with MCP is that, so imagine you've written your tool like that, but you wanted to share it with the world. Like let's say you have your own app that does something very specific, like features, like this is your $1 billion startup that has all the data on the roads of Nairobi or something. But guys just don't have access to your code and all of that. Maybe you have your API endpoints, but you could build a tool and how you want them to interact with it and share it with everyone, and they just integrate it with the LLMs and stuff. Now, the thing with MCPs, it's not just how you build yourself. Like you as a developer and how you build, I could literally open Claude and install an MCP. And Claude, my desktop app, has access to tool calling. Like that's also the biggest advantage. That's also like another big advantage that comes with MCPs. Just because it's so standardized, I could literally feed it into the LLM I use, like now Claude, and it could work on that. And so imagine your weather tool or a tool directly to your own database, and then you integrate it with like Claude, and you're working with Claude, and it's querying your DB, and it's getting all that info directly, So no more copy pasting and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just GraphQL for LLMs, but not just GraphQL. It's GraphQL plus the networks plus all those things, but it's a way of them to like just understand each other. Welcome, Undume. Uh, so yeah, so we can see that I have like a basic setup working. Now we are going to have the next thing we're working on is like now way more intensive. So I need to check out Google Drive, the endpoints and stuff, and build this client from the ground up. I feel like I'm doing something wrong, and I'm gonna have a chat with the team at MCP Run and just see if there's an easier way to do it. Yeah, but like, yeah. So let me show you. This is mcp.run, and this is like the servlet or like the server I'm using. So I just updated it 5 minutes ago. As you can see my tool calls, right? They're here. So search files is going to take a query and access token. This is just very simplified. Okay, and then I'm saying access token because a problem that we're getting is just how do you work with things like auth for these tools, right? And I saw today on Twitter, what's their name? Composio. I saw that Composio have a way to do auth, and I'm like, should I just jump to Composio straight and try and build it from there, or just finish up with these guys with the way I'm thinking about it, MCP Run, and come and check out Composio later. Now fully supports MCP complete with comprehensive auth for yeah. So I want to understand what they mean with this, because in this case I have to authenticate Google Drive, right? And I see this managed auth. So I think this solves the problem I'm trying to figure out, but I don't even know how or why yet. So I'm going to spend the day fighting with mcp.run, see how far I can go, and then I'll test it out with Composio. Cool. Nice. So I had built some schemas. Okay. So file resource. These are the responses I was sort of expecting. Okay, I don't need those right now. Let's try and just build the Google API and make like our fast, simple request. I don't know how I'm going to get the access token. Maybe you have to jump and implement auth on like our front end and then start using that. Okay. Cool. Let's look at the Google Docs. So files.list, this is, I think, the simplest one that I want to check out. So this is the endpoint. I believe that's the same one. Yep. And I have built out most of this schema things. This is the response. Okay. So I want to see how they build their system. Is this what I'm looking for? I want to see how they build their URL. Like, is everything just as URL params? I know it doesn't accept a body, so it's like, yeah, what's headers, what's not? URL query parameters, authorization. Okay. This doesn't. This is not talking about what I'm looking for. Oh, what is this? Siangu, near my brother, ako kando. You'll see guys just walking, wanaingia. Niliamua tu like twende. I'll just do it, no vibes. Okay, so searching for files, file list. This is the query term, operator, and the values. Okay, and this file with the name hello. God, querying like this is going to. It just feels very plain. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Like, imagine you're passing this as a query, but it's LLMs zitajipanga. Queue fields, next page token, spaces drive. So this, you see in this example, in this Node.js example, they're using like the Google Auth library and the Google APIs. I couldn't use this because it uses like Node.js specific stuff, and this MCP just it compiles to WASM, so can't use like the URL, the underlying HTTP node thing can't work. So I have to build like all these things, build like a link, then push. Right now, I just want to see how that URL is made. Search query terms and operators. No, we're going to I assume these things all just becomes like URL stuff. Because if you look here, HTTP, it's a get method, and these are query parameters, right? So makes sense. All these are going to like to the URL, and then you get this body, and then there's something they say somewhere here, like just doesn't accept a body. Oh yeah, request body must be empty. So let's just work with that. I have a schema, but we are going to start slowly and like just start by passing a simple query and get the thing back. So okay. So for this client, we're going to start by, we have the base URL. I think that's just it. And then like we build a URL with everything that comes in here. Okay, so I'm gonna work with that. So let's change this from this to an actual thing that's going on, to an actual function. Okay, so this is an effect generator function. We have a base URL. A dot. So these are all the query things that we're going to work on. So jumping off to join a stand up. Be back in a few. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon. Okay, so what's like a nice programmatic way to work with this? Because all these could exist. So I could do a loop that checks for all the available key value pairs, and then only add those to the URL that we're building, and then now just make a HTTP request with that thing. Yeah, effect looks pretty sick. I'm trying to get used to it. It's still messing up with my brain because there's just so much going on with effects, but I'm already sort of like I didn't have to use effect in this project, but it was just like I need effect because it does some things really well. I like how you can just, for instance, like just piping and just piping values to the next. It's really cool. I love it. Yeah. So here, I could loop through the key value pairs in A, right? In what we're receiving. Check if value is not like undefined, exist. If value exists, and add that up as as query params. So yeah, so I could start with like a query params and then concatenate those two. I'm just working with the strings here. It's crazy. So to do that, I need to like loop. I think let's see if there's an effect way to just like loop through these things. Or for each, yeah, there's an effect for each control flow. Let's see. Zipping combines two effects into a single effect. Cool. Once both effects succeed, their results are combined in a tuple. That's not what I want. Looping. Effect.loop initial while step body. Cool. It's an interesting way to write like a loop. The effect.loop function allows you to repeatedly update this state using a step function. While so just looks like a while loop in JS. Let's look at this. Result effect.loop initial state is 1. So this is a loop that ran 5 times, collecting each iteration results 1. And then condition to continue looping while the state is less than 5, less than or equal to 5. The step state update function effect to be performed on each iteration. Nice. And then effect run promise. Nice. So this like returns a list. Result is a list. Okay, interesting. Iterate. So this is you updating. Okay. So this first one has this thing, result dot push. So loop is like when you have like this thing. Makes sense. Discarding intermediate result. You could just say discard true. Okay. So this would just go through. Okay, and this is a for each. So you have a list, and then the thing you want to do, and then you can pass down your effect over here. I like this for each because this effect.for each has something really cool. You can set concurrency behavior. Like you could have a list and you want to work on all those different things at the same time. There's no need for you to loop through, like nothing depends on the last step. You could just set your concurrency to like unbounded. And while JavaScript and TypeScript are not like concurrent like languages, yeah, you get concurrency just based on how effect is written. They use like fibers under the hood to make it possible, which I think is really cool. You just need to be careful. If you set your concurrency crazy high, and in each like loop you're hitting like an API, you might like hit your rate limits really quick. Discard true. Okay, this is nice. So I get the key value pairs, do a for each on them, and inside here do like an effect that like something like adds on top, right? Like adds to the initial state, just like this string that we concatenate, and at the end of it we have like the full string, right? I think that's what we're gonna do. So first, just going to test it. So I'm just going to yield it. Yielding is like when you have like an effect, you need to like, there's an effect which describes how something is going to run, and then you can run it, and you could just yield it and like work with it. No, we're looking for a loop, and then our initial that's like our initial value, and then condition to continue looping. What's the condition here? How does for each work here? Now let's use a for each instead of the loop, because for each just works with everything. Okay, for each, and then the next is like the function, the thing that we want to do. So this is I'm gonna call it the param and the value. And now in this case, we want to check if value is defined, we add that key pair to to the thing. So in this case, console log effect as n times 2. Okay. String number boolean string query page size. Yeah, cool. So let's like write some plain JavaScript for now. If value exists, we need to return that, right? Now we need to return like param, and that's how we write like query parameters, right? So it needs to return an effect for sure. Just a sec. I'm black. Okay, so this is not the right way to to do it, definitely. So okay, so the for which is happening, let me see. So it's going to have like unbounded concurrency, because like this thing, we just want it to wait a minute, because we want them to add up. Yeah, we're just gonna add up. Cool. So this gives us like a list of strings, which is like every single param, and then we need to like now concatenate them together. And if you look at like param, if I was to add param, so I'll start with like a question mark here, and I'm gonna have this equals to something, and I'm gonna have an ampersand, and then this equals to something. Cool. That's how like we write the query params. So I think I'm gonna start with that so that I don't have to worry about the initial like question mark. Now I have all these things, I just need to join them, right? And if this is my result, I could just come and okay, so so this is an effect with a string. Okay, so I'm gonna pipe that list as an effect, and then I'm joining them with like an ampersand, right? Cool. So this becomes just a single string. Cool. And then because I have this result, I'm going to no, it's not like use effect, it's effect.ts. So head over to like effect.website. It's like a standard library for like JavaScript. Not like an official thing. It just has a lot of stuff going on. It's really cool. Can get a bit complex though. And this is me like just trying to wrap my head around it, honestly. Didn't have to use it, but there's some really cool results coming out of. Cool. Okay. So now I return. Let me return the actual thing that's supposed to. And then I'm just going to have my result. Is that like the right way? I believe. Yep. Let's build this and see if it works. Right, let's build it and see if it works. I just want to see if I've built these query params properly so that I can now concatenate it and then use it, right? So cool. XTP plugin build. Cool. Nice. So we have the query. Oh, what's going on? Brian. Oh yeah. So the query is Brian. So we need to URL encode it so that the spaces don't exist. And access token, my random access token. So it's working. Why use effect? It has some really cool things that make a lot of JavaScript stuff like way easier, right? And it's just the little quirks, right? For instance, error handling, right? If you need, just think about error handling and how it works and how you have so many try catches and also checking the different errors and then doing that. There's no problem with that. That's just how things are. But with effect, when I have a function, I immediately know it's going to error in this way, it's going to error in that way, and I can handle errors in a very, very elegant way. That's one example. Another thing I really like about effect is its flows, right? Like I have a pipeline here. And what this pipeline does, like this pipeline is going to handle every request that comes through this app, right? And all I have to do is I receive the request, it's an input, And then I have like pattern matching, right? So immediately I just have pattern matching. So because imagine, I know most servers and most like things we build are literally like different types of pipelines or like flows, where a request comes in and then you have to do an if this is this, do this, if it's that, do this, it came through this endpoint, do that, and then you just go checking all these different things as you go, and like pattern matching just makes that really cool. So as you can see right now, I can just extract, for instance, handle search files in its own like function, and that just matches and matches by its effect schema. Like, does the payload look like this schema, right? And if it does, it Google Drive like search files, and I have written like my service on Google Drive, and then I can now list those things, blah blah blah. Now this is how I'm using it, but I've seen like so many cool things that effect just does that is so nice. For instance, just think of when a function errors. So many times you want to capture that error and maybe retry 3 times and eventually fail and say like, this thing is not working. Just implementing a simple feature like that is crazy. With effect, it's just like right there. Like you can just do a built-in, you can just have like a nice error handling thing going on, and it's so cool. So I'm not even like crazy about effect and everything. It's just that I've been curious for so long, and I wanted to just find a way to like use it, experience it, and just feel like, okay, does this thing work or not for me? And pretty far so good. I mean, I'm scratching fingers a lot, like my head a lot, and I always want to figure it out. But for most of the part, I really see the advantages. So it's really cool. Yeah. And some really cool guys also using Effect, which is really nice. Like the domain team in Vessel, like they build it using Effect. So it's like ready for production and stuff. And yeah, I guess it's also my circles because I'm also just following a lot of these guys and checking out what they're doing. Okay. So yeah, let's see. I doubt Effect has this. Okay. I want to see if URL encoding is part of like, is it like a JS thing or is it like a Node thing? How do you guys like encode your URLs? I've not had to do this in a very long time. Oh yeah, there's an encode URL. Is it like a browser API? This is browser specific. Okay. Yeah. So if you have that, like Effect can handle retries in so cool, and you can even just have like so Peter is saying like, sometimes you need to call like a serverless endpoint and it needs time to warm up and it might return an error. Like retries, and you can even have like you can build those retries to work with something like exponential backoff, where like how you retry, you see how like if you don't have internet and you're on Gmail and it says like retrying in 2 seconds and then retrying in 5 seconds and then retrying in 10 seconds, like it's not hammering the server because if you've gotten an error, that means there's clearly something wrong going on with like the server or like the resource you're requesting, and you don't want to just hammer it like crazy, and you can just set exponential back off. Like it's just literally one line and it's so cool. You get like so many useful things that it's not that you can't implement it in TypeScript, it's just that it's just so much to write, and sometimes this is like the boring parts of like what you're building and you're like, oh. Okay, so I want to know, is this like a browser feature? Will this like compile if I use it? Encode URI. Let me see. So I need to encode URI the value. What's going on? Oh. Okay. Let's see if this compiles. I don't know what goes into WASM or what doesn't. So I hope. Looks like it's okay. Oh yeah, that works. That's nice. Yeah, so it encode URIs. So I have like my params. Now I need to change a couple of things. Query is not actually query, it should be queue. So I need to do some pattern matching over there just to make sure if it's the right thing. The rest I think are okay. What I need to do is maybe rename it. Right? So I can come and rename this value to queue, and then I do like a schema dot, what was it called? There was this thing that it's not an option. Can't find it here, just like that. Okay, let's just go here. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Sorry, renaming. Yeah. Property signature. From key, and the key is going to be query. So what this does is the object we receive, like through our request, like whoever is going to query this is actually going to have a key called query. They're going to see this, but I rename it and my object now has a queue. So I think that's really cool. And yeah, I can now just like work with that. So if I build this, and I call it, and then we see if it does the same thing, and then we jump now into actually querying the Google Drive API. Yep, didn't match, so it needs to be a queue. Yeah, so it wants me to do a queue. So just make it a queue because like that's what eventually goes to the thing. But yeah, let me change the way I do this. This is how they do it, right? Schema to property signature, schema to string pipe, schema from key, and then the key. Encoded is a C. Read only B. Okay, and then the type actually has an E. Okay. I'm just going to change it in the function instead of working on the schema directly like that. I feel like that's cleaner, and then it's easier for me to improve these things later. So I'm going to come here and object root entries. So the first thing I'm going to do is so I'm going to do some pattern matching based on the value. The first thing is going to definitely be param and value. Okay. And then I am going to match when so I need to write when the param is query. Right, cool. And then so I succeed with a Q. Okay, what's not here? Oh yeah, so this no, this is not how I cool. I think there's a problem there. And then okay, just trying to figure out how to write this match properly. Let's just look at the match API for a second. Mm-hmm. Mm. So we need to match. I'm trying to see how they work. I don't think they've done a string. I mean, a list matches a specific set of returns. Okay. String, an empty number, boolean, begin, symbol, date, record. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Um. Mhm. Just match by. I think. Mm, I think there's a place where they were looking at like the length. Dot number. Mm-hmm. Where's that? Is it here? Is that long list of like, oh yeah, the built-in predicates. Match dot is okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I think I just have to. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's going to be let's look at match by type because I think that might help me. Match.number, match.string. So it's a refinement. Takes the thing that's unknown. Mm-hmm. Well, using the object makes sense. I'm just trying to figure out how it's gonna work with this, like a list. So instead of this, what are they doing? Let me write another match here. So I have this and the first one, then I say match dot is query, and then B an empty string. Yeah, so this doesn't work. Oh yeah, cool. So I do this, then nice. Yep. This has definitely been crazy. Pipe, did you mean static number? No. What's going on here? Oh, it's not imported. Oh. Yeah. So this is a string. Cool. It knows it's a string, yeah. So that's how you match it. Crazy. I was really trying to wrap my mind around that. So I am checking if it's a query, else everything else just goes back this way. Cool. It's just the same return type, honestly. I guess I'm doing something I usually do where I just like get lost on a tiny detail. Time to move on. So this is going to fail because it has that queue thing. Let me look for the one that has a query there. Yep, and it returns a queue. Cool. So this thing is being built, I believe. So now the next thing we want to do is concatenate to the base URL. Okay. Yeah, it's getting crazy, right? So yield effect dot for each side my query params. I'm sort of returning that. How can I make this simpler? and then I'm going to have like request URL is going to be base URL plus the query params. So let's change the request URL. I want to see if that thing really looks good, so that we make sure like it really builds the URL the way we want it to. Okay. HTTPS Google APIs files Q Akuya access token. Yep, it's working. Hey Kevin, thanks watching from YouTube. Let's go. What am I building? Steve is asking. I'm building an MCP. I don't know if I call it an MCP server or an MCP, the Model Context Protocol that interacts with Google Drive. And the reason I'm doing that is because I actually want to build an AI agent. It's part of a bigger project, which is an AI agent that interacts with your Google Drive and like asks you question. And I'm building that using TypeScript. Everything is TypeScript, from the way I'm building the MCP to the agent. And I'm using Mastra AI, which is like this new, really cool TypeScript AI framework. Yeah, and I've built a couple of things using Mastra so far, and you guys should definitely check out Mastra. It brings like a lot of agentic workflows, stuff, evaluation, all those things into TypeScript in a really nice way. So the main reason is I want to integrate an MCP using Mastra. So I'm building like a Google Drive MCP first and then trying it out. Now the challenge I have right now is the MCP is going to be compiled into WASM, right? And some things that are like platform specific for Node don't exist, especially like the networking packages. And the problem that I have now is I have to like use this HTTP request helper that I have available. So now I can't use something like the official like Google Docs package, because it relies on some Node platform specific things. So yeah, so now I'm just building a URL and then now doing like a direct HTTP get or push or post etc directly to an endpoint to get like what I'm looking for. So yeah, that's like the challenge, and we've just been able to build a request the URL. Like now we're building the URL properly. As you can see, the response is coming. So I can get like the query, and I'm getting like an access token and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. The challenge I've realized the access token is part of the query params. I don't think that should be there. Let me check the docs just for a second. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Ooh, okay. So the HP, these are the query params. Request body, response body, authorization scopes. Okay. Some scopes are restricted. Yeah, let's see how the authorization is done. I think it should be in like a header. Where can I get this information? look at the overview. There's a lot of things to build it like from scratch. Not too much, but yeah. I want to know, how do I authenticate? Yeah, I think I just need to understand the authentication. Bum, 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 bum. Mm-hmm. Manage credentials. Cool. Let me see. No, that's not what I want. Okay, you know what? There's this API here. Let's look at this. I think this might help us. So we have our request programs, credentials, Google Oath. So my queue, I'm just going to say, user and title. So yep, authenticates me. Select. Does he just do that every time? I thought it was like standard parameters. Okay, so it's still here. Access token is also there. Okay, so everything is in the URL. But access token comes like with the snake cased and not like camel cased the way I have it. So I need to match that as well. Okay. And I'm just going to pass the access token here. Okay. Yeah, we really need to move on to like actually making a request. Access access token. Yeah, it's definitely being passed. Okay. So this sort of pipe here helps me build the query parameters. Cool. Now the next thing I need to do is actually make this request now, right? Yep. There's no body. I think this is cool. Nice. Let's see how they do this in MCP. Const response. Oh yeah, so no awaits and stuff like that. Cool. Because I was wondering. JSON.parse response.body. I'm just going to pass the whole request. Stringify, sorry. This is going to have an error because like definitely the access token is a random token, but I just want to see if this token is from Google, if we're literally calling the endpoints for this API. Cool. HTTP error is not allowed. Oh yeah, I need to now pass allowed where is it? This one. Allow host. Okay. But not the weather API. This is going to be nice. Yep, so it did make a request. I got a 4.3. Method doesn't allow unregistered callers without established identity. Please use API key or other form of API consumer identity to call this API. Okay. Nice. So yep, Google is telling us something. I was looking at this and what's that? Upload type, quota user, pretty print, true false fields. An API key. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that. It just goes back and then I've lost almost everything that I was doing. Oh, yeah. See? I need to do key, my API key, and then authorization, I have my access token. Makes so much sense. I didn't know I could just open it up and see. This is crazy. It's gonna need to have these two as headers. So I put my access token here and my API key. Sense. The thing is, where do we get this API key? Nice sparrow. Okay. Application.json. Okay. The query goes there. That's nice. And key is my API key. So I need to understand where does this API key come from. When they say use an API key or an auth2 to request or verify permissions. Yeah. So I get that like on the console. Yep. Okay. And then I set up my auth2. Cool. So I'm gonna open this in another window and just get my API keys quickly. What's going on? Go to the API console from project list, create a new one. Okay, let me do that. Cool. So I need to create a new project. So let me just do that. Okay, so I think now for this case, everyone needs to add their own API key and an access token. Okay. So I need to add that config to the MCP. So I done did that. Select a project. If the APIs and services page, choose credentials and select an API key. Okay. create an API key. So I'm gonna leave it open for now. Now, so I'm gonna config variables. This is going to be yep. So I'm gonna add this here. Cool. Nice. So how do we use that for now? Okay. Okay. So let me set it up properly and enable some services. Okay. I have set up my API key. The next thing we want to do so we're going to pass that. We still need the access token, so that's right. But everyone's going to like set up their own like Google app and then use the access tokens for that. So that's cool. Google Auth. Cool. So I'm gonna have to pass this here. So let's just nice. And then since this is not part of like the things coming into the params, we're just gonna concatenate it here, and this is going to have to be key and then API key. Cool. And this is like a required thing. I don't know if it can throw an error, can it? Or null? God. Okay. Just ensure that it exists. We'll build our config properly. Okay. Nice. I think we have the function in place. We just now need to query it. And since I have since I'll be exposing the API key, I'm just going to move this to like a different section and call it from there. I'll tell you if it like works or not. Trust me, bro. I'll let you know. That works. Builds properly. I need to allow the host, and let's check and see config. Okay, this is how we do it. So I set it as an environment variable. Actually, I'm just gonna do that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. What is this? There's something that this thing builds. Okay. So I'm just going to set it as an environment variable in my my shell for now. And then we can just like run it together so that you guys can see it. It is credentials. STP config, then we just like Google API. Nice. So our thing works. It works just fine. We can see that our our request actually hits Google now. So you can see like definitely the access token is just not valid. I was expecting this. So request had invalid authentication credential, expected to access token, which expected an access token, login cookie, or other valid authentication credential. Okay. Nice. Let's see what they mean with this. Yeah. Now we pass a valid authentication token, and this should work. Because that seems to be the only issue. So this request actually does go. Nice. So so the next step is we're going to build the client side, since like we have this set up, so that we can pass like a valid authentication token and then use it, right? And then start using it. Cool. I think this is nice. We have something working. Cool. We're definitely calling it, and I think that's cool. XTP plugin build. So I'm going to build, publish this, and then take a break. Maybe come back later. Maybe not. Yeah, I don't think I'll be back because now I have to handle some other things. But like, yeah. But if you're still watching, thank you so much. This has been really cool. Really appreciate you guys just showing up and vibing. Okay. So see, I have 6 followers. Thank you for everyone who really followed. That's so cool. Lithium gifted you a tier 1 subscription to the Prime. Oh yeah, I was gifted a tier 1 subscription. That's cool. Okay, I guess I don't get these notifications there. Cool. It's hiding the number of followers. Problem. So yeah, I think this is building. Is it done? I was building it on this other side. Nice. That's pushed. So yeah, that was nice. Thank you so much for like hanging out with me. We've been able to like fix a bug I was experiencing earlier. Apparently using an effect class doesn't compile well to WASM using the XTSM thingy. So yeah, I figured that out. And we've been able to build a Google Drive client for just searching files, build URLs and push. So that's the first step. Now we need to pass a valid access token and see the thing go all the way. And that would have us build the client side, authenticate, and pass the token to the WASM, as we call it. So that's going to be like the next thing that I'm building. Anyway, thank you so much for like, jumping in. See you tomorrow. I have a schedule up. I'll be doing like, every weekday from like 10 or so. So just like 30 minutes, 0 plus 30 minutes there. And yeah, I'll just be building stuff together. So yeah, you can come and just like hang out as we do this. Thank you.